Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen. Not only as your host, but as your guiding of light, your being of light, creator being, guidance of the types of transition for transitional period and the grand door of what it means to be involved in the acceleration of the evolution of not only the human species, but of DNA in general, not only of the human DNA, but the planet's DNA. And of course, the planet's DNA and everything that we consider the type of transition between whatever type of transition is considered with the type of positive fruition for what is DNA. Also your, and also mine. Uniquely, the type of co-creative response and expendability and respondability and expenditure, meaning more of the expedition and the existence of the type of co-creative ability that means with the type of responsibility that's involved in not only imagination but the sort of creativity which is not and is not limited by not only what we previously understood as limitlessness in the activity of imagination, but now what we per se can currently exist as imagination, or excuse me, what can currently exist as a limitlessness of imagination of what we can be, which has nothing to do with any type of basis of what motion is based upon. Not only what can be based upon what we present as what motion is based upon, but of course the type of limitless existence of the type of measurements of what it means to be living in not only a galactic society, but a society of superluminous proportions and capabilities, which is once again just sort of the foundations, which is what we already exist in, which is a type 2087 civilization. Now, a type 4 civilization is very, could say, very advanced. Now, a type 2087 civilization, of course, is much more so. And the type of spiritual advancement that comes from a type 2097 civilization means that the type of, sort of technological coalescence that exists with such advancement with a type 3021 civilization means that the type of advancement with such technologies sort of not only mirrors, but of course accelerates advancement, understanding, and spiritual understanding in general as a whole, not only as what we do, but of course what we express and understand. Now, grand fruitions of not only what we understand of what it means to be involved in many different types of electromagnetic progressions of that which occur on Earth, and many progressions occur from what happened on a geological or what we consider a physical perspective, all the way to what we can consider a sort of etheric perspective. So we got physical perspectives which go from weather all the way down to atomic mechanisms, maneuvering, and developments. And of course, there is a plethora of all sorts of studies and sciences which have to do with developments involving temperature, temperate zones, as well as matter pertaining to specific animate and inanimate objects, as well as the kind of new ground recognition of hot water geysers, as well as lava, magma, and overall shifting concerns in general. Now, some of the unique things that come from a sort of limitless perspective of what is imbued in this sort of creativity that exists within the plethora of understandings present, and not only plethora present, but of course present, and the type of creativity that exists with, of course, the imagination components of those young generations of advancement towards limitless potential that does and does not has to do with the type of limitlessness that expands between what can be considered physical, inanimate, and of course what can be considered physical, animate, and as well as what can be considered physical, what can be considered etheric advancement, as well as what can be considered etheric unity, which regardless of the type of and this is let me prepare this before any type of sort of connotations can be associated with this. No matter what type of I mean, that's what unity is. No matter what type of background comes from, I mean, pretty much what can be considered this new generation of this, whatever is ages, and of course this is not necessarily categorizing or limiting to a certain area, but of course quite the opposite. No matter what type of creative abilities, no matter what type of action, no matter what type of existence that exists with those ages per se, 26. Let's go all the way up to 26. 26 and below, of course, is a positive thing. Now, grand fruitions, of course, is not only what I'm going to repeat and the explanation, and of course reiterate in transportation formats, but of course anti-gravity, superluminous travel, traveling at the speed of thought, and of course traveling at the speed of thought, superluminous travel. So, of course, when actions or thoughts are spoken, such as superluminous travel to go from place to place in the universe, it allows us to practice the ability of being able to be co-creative creators, which we are. Now, that is also very good practice for replicators, for when we, per se, type in, per se, whatever type of creation we want to create out of, understand this process is only going to accelerate, so bear with me. So that allows you to type in whatever you want to type in and create with replicators, which can be anything from spaceships to a pencil to a pen. So also I'm just gonna go to the key perspectives. Of course, there's many non-essential activities and tools that can be in presence and brought to whatever type of educational system is asked of. And of course, any type of question that can be asked has an answer, because not only are we limitless creators, but of course we are limitless procreators of the future, which ultimately, has a responsibility of not only the unity of who we are and our advancement, ascension, responsibility, but of course who we are and our unique connection of heart, song, blood pumping, ignition. Because no matter what happens, I mean, what's so more exciting? Being able to, which is the truth, being able to unite and then, accelerate in subtle variations, or, doing everything you can, which is, true. So bear with me with this example. Doing everything you can to exist as the best that you can, fitting in the parameters of a sort of box of what is required, quote, required, unquote, to fitting in that perspective genre which is needed for a certain predicament. This is a sort of new age, a new development of new whatever type of, proclamation of a self sort of exclamation of a box that you want to be put in, for example, this is the box of, this is a path that I want to take to, and it's not just, sort of a path that I can be not limited to not wanting to go off the path, meaning this is dumb and negative. If you want to go off the path, you can. Regardless, this is a sort of unique sort of episode of trailblazing, which of course is what the many things. Of course, what is Fire of Liberty. And so it's a unique type of path that, of course, advances, encourages, and, of course, accelerates exploration and advancement. And, of course, this is your host, Christopher Monk Curtis Bone, of the Evening Edition of Fire of Liberty. Not only as your host, but also as your, mainly as your guardian of light, purveyor and exuder and radiant satyr of light, of positivity, of peace, and of creation in a positive way, as well as your leader, planetary leader of peace, ambassador for this planet and ambassador for the solar system, as well as unique ambassador for love, co-creative expansion, and peace throughout the universe. This is your host, Christopher Michael Curtis Bowen, on the evening edition of Fire for Liberty. Love you all.